I am standing in Section 1 near the gravesite of Abner Doubleday. Many recognize Doubleday's name from him being incorrectly associated with the creation of the game of baseball. In fact, Abner Doubleday had a long military service in the United States Army. An 1842 graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point, Doubleday served in the Mexican-American War, in the Seminole Indian Wars, and of course in the Civil War. It was during the Civil War that he fired the first shots in defense of Fort Sumter and also led troops at the Battle of Gettysburg. Recently, our command curator, Rod Gaynor, and the president emeritus and historian of the Gettysburg Foundation, Wayne Motts, met near Doubleday's statue at the battlefield at Gettysburg to discuss this famed general.
Standing in front of the famed statue of Abner Doubleday at McPherson's Ridge, scene of extensive action on July 1st, 1863 during the Battle of Gettysburg. Accompanied by my friend Wayne Motts, who's the chief historian of the Gettysburg Foundation. Question a little bit about Abner Doubleday. He was a professional soldier, right? He'd been in the Army before the war?
Right. I think when people come to Gettysburg and they get the tour and they think about Abner Doubleday and his connection to baseball, they really don't equate the fact that Doubleday's profession was that of a soldier, well-trained and with lots of experience. So Doubleday is 44 years old here in the Battle of Gettysburg. He's born June 26, 1819 in Ballston Spa, New York, and he's appointed to West Point in 1838, and he graduates in 1842, Rod, and many of his classmates are here in the Battle of Gettysburg and very prominent in the Civil War, some buried in Arlington National Cemetery, of course, and he gets his first posting as a U.S. artillerist, and he's posted to the 3rd Artillery, and then he gets transferred into the 1st U.S. Artillery Regiment. He'll fight in Florida during the 3rd Seminole War, and in 1860, he is assigned to Fort Moultrie at Charleston Harbor in South Carolina. And when Robert Anderson, the commanding officer there, in 1860, 1861, right at the beginning of the Civil War, decides to move that garrison for safety over to Fort Sumter, Doubleday accompanies him, and Doubleday commands as a captain, Battery E, of the 1st United States Artillery Regiment at Fort Sumter for the first shots of the American Civil War.
Some say he pulled the lanyard in the first return shot from the fort, correct?
Right. He's credited with firing the first shot of the Civil War.
What happened after Sumter? He became a general pretty quick.
He'll actually get moved into an infantry command. He will become a volunteer general at the time of the Civil War with the volunteers. He'll be in brigade, he'll have division command, and he'll be a part of the 1st Union Army Corps. So he'll have a record up through Gettysburg and serving in the 1st Corps, and of course he's also at the Battle of Antietam with General Meade, who becomes the commanding general here.
They didn't all get along very well, did they?
They see things differently, and once again, I think Doubleday's politics is unusual for the Army. So he comes from, his father was a Jacksonian Democrat, but he really comes from an abolitionist type background. So he's sort of on the outside of the Army, even though his family politics were different than his own. And later on, he'll actually command black troops after the Civil War.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, which is interesting.
That's the one baseball, the true baseball connection, correct?
Right. Because he gets his troops outfitted when he's the colonel of the 24th U.S. Infantry Regiment. So he's a major here at Gettysburg, I think in the 17th U.S. And then he gets promoted after the American Civil War, becomes colonel of the 24th United States Infantry Regiment, which is Buffalo Soldier Unit.
But after Gettysburg, though, he never really commands anymore in the field in the Civil War.
He gets relieved of command here for July 2nd, 1863, and that command's given to John Newton. And John Newton was a member of the 1842 class, an engineer by training, born in Virginia, so he's a Southerner, an extra insult to Doubleday, at least from Doubleday's mind. And Then Doubleday will get appointed to recruiting duty. I don't think he goes. He has a story where he says Mrs. Lincoln actually stopped that because Mrs. Lincoln was with his family. Now, I don't know if that's true, but he claims through some connections that he was given an assignment and Mrs. Lincoln actually had it revoked. But he's not going to be in active field command after the Battle of Gettysburg.
Fascinating. Interesting that even today his grave is festooned with baseballs and Nationals tickets during the baseball season, but he really had nothing to do with the invention of baseball.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those stories, Rod, we always say if you can't beat them, join them, right?
Well, Wayne, it's been great talking with you.
Well, thanks so much. On behalf of the Gettysburg Foundation, we're honored to be out here with you on the Gettysburg battlefield, and we hope the viewers enjoy.
Likewise. And by all means, visit Gettysburg and visit Arlington.
Thank you, Wayne, for your insight. You can visit the Gettysburg Foundation as well as the National Park Service's websites to learn more about the Battle of Gettysburg, fought between July 1st and July 3rd of 1863, and to plan a visit there. Located just south of Arlington National Cemetery is the National Museum of the United States Army. Among the amazing exhibits and artifacts on display there is Abner Doubleday's sword. Sarah Bowen, one of the fantastic museum specialists from the museum, will share a brief history of this item with us.
Welcome to the National Museum of the United States Army. We're here today inside our Preserving the Nation gallery. In this portion of the gallery, we discuss the country's rising tensions and the personal possessions of soldiers caught up in the confusion of the opening days of the Civil War. Beside me is a model 1850 foot officer's sword and scabbard, which was carried by Captain Abner Doubleday during the bombardment of Fort Sumter, South Carolina in April 1861. As the captain of Company E, 1st U.S. Artillery Regiment, Doubleday led a detachment of his men to Fort Sumter. He volunteered to fire the first shot during the bombardment, which was a 32-pound shot that bounced off the roof of the iron battery on Cummings Point. On April 9, 1850, the War Department adopted a standard sword for all foot officers of infantry, artillery, and riflemen. By the outbreak of the war in 1861, the model 1850 had become a standard issue item. It was worn until 1872, when the Staff and Field Officer's Sword of 1860 became regulation. Manufactured in approximately 1850, this particular sword is 38 inches long and composed of steel and brass with a sharkskin grip. Its slightly curved blade has etchings of patriotic motifs. Its scabbard, at 33.5 inches long, is composed of leather and brass. Both sword and scabbard displayed here have the manufacturer's mark of Ames Manufacturing Company of Chicopee, Massachusetts. The sword is one of the most recognizable items of the Civil War and served as both a symbol of rank and as a weapon. This particular artifact's history, in that it witnessed the very earliest days of the Civil War and was carried by a very key individual in that engagement, is what makes it a truly unique and rare item. Thank you for joining me at the National Museum of the United States Army. And if you'd like to learn more, please check out our website.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing your expertise with us. The National Museum of the United States Army is an outstanding place to visit for anyone interested in military history and specifically the history of the U.S. Army from its earliest days to the present. While mistakenly associated with baseball, it was Abner Doubleday's long and distinguished military career that earned him a display case at the museum, a monument at the Battle of Gettysburg, and his gravesite here at Arlington National Cemetery.